Good evening and welcome to another episode of Business Today, a program where we discuss business matters related globally and even locally, and how you can take forward the business matters if you are really involved in the business world of today. As you know that we feature a business personality every day in our program Business Today. So let's go and see who our business personality today is.
Dr. Arosha Fernando, CEO of Lanka Aviation Limited, a renowned scholar having 6 university degrees from Australia, who is versatile in regulatory matters and in bringing foreign direct investment to Sri Lanka, as well as specialized in media, telecommunication, construction and apparel sectors. Dr. Arosha was the Project Director at Ericsson Limited, Director and CEO of Zera Global Network Limited, Working Director, Chairman of Verazzo Holdings Limited, Deputy Chairman of World Capital Center, Group Director of MTD Walkers PLC, Senior Consultant at the Telecommunication Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, and Ceylon Fisheries Harbour Corporation, to name a few of the senior positions held in the past. Dr. Arosha has 28 years of senior management experience in local and international business fields, and currently the chairman and managing director of 5 other companies in Sri Lanka. He is also a senior film producer and produced 17 films, 5 teledramas and 2 stage plays, a total of 24 productions to his credit during the past 8 years. Dr. Arosha has involved in contributing towards many social service activities and programs, be it at workplace or the village, and his recognition, he has been appointed as the Justice of Peace for all Island by the Ministry of Justice, and also received national honorary titles Deshabandhu, Deshabmanya, Deshabhimani and Sri Rohana Jana Ranjana from the government of Sri Lanka.
That is Dr. Arosha Fernando, the Chief Executive Officer in the 3rd International Airline of Sri Lanka, Fly Lanka Asia Limited. Good evening to you, Doctor.
Very good evening to you, Kosala.
Yeah. Moving on straight away, I would like to ask, from media to telecommunication to the apparel industry to finance to foreign, what made you move in to the field of aviation, and how do you see it?
Interesting question, Kosala. In fact, yes, aviation industry, somewhere I got involved only a few weeks back. I was appointed just under 1 month ago as the CEO of the Fly Lankan Asia. In fact, I can go back to my childhood. When I was a kid, I always wanted to become a pilot, but for some reason it has not happened. I went through a different path, business administration, telecom, etc. So, I just turned into 50 years old a few months back. Then after 50 years, I think finally I'm getting into aviation industry. I was invited by our main investor from Miami, Florida, USA, and who's also our group chairman of the company. So based on the invitation, I have accepted this challenging position. So I see it's a very, very fascinating area, and not many areas during this COVID pandemics are moving in the right direction. In fact, one would argue aviation industry is the most highly affected due to the COVID pandemic. So many aircraft being parked everywhere, most of the majority airlines being declaring bankruptcy like that. But a number of discussion I had with the chairman prior I was accepting this role, it made me understand this is a very lucrative, very challenging and a very fascinating area to get involved. So I thought I've been there for a long period in the telecommunication. That's where I started my career, then moving on to media, apparel, construction. So I thought, okay, maybe my last 10 years, 15 years or whatever, in my career, this is a nice area to get involved,
Well, what are the challenges that you would see coming into the aviation? As you said, about with the pandemic, ongoing pandemic, it's not really, none of the aircrafts are not really functioning 100%. They cannot take in their full capacity of passengers. So there are various regulations, there are various guidelines. So how challenging is it to really come out, especially to bring in a new brand to the country?
It's very, very challenging, Kosala. I would say the main strength what we have is our major investor chairman. He has a 30 years experience in the global aviation industry, and he has commenced the operation as a founder of 5 different airlines globally, including Lion Air in Indonesia. As well as his main business is into leasing aircraft. So he buy aircraft and he modify it and upgrade it and for the pilot, the staff, engineering, the entire setup, and lease it to major airlines in the globe. At the moment, he's owning 17 different aircraft. So with his background and well-proven success stories with the other 5 airlines, this is a different business model. For Fly Lankan Asia, it's totally different business model compared to what he has done earlier. So I think there's a huge opportunity at the moment, because if you look at the major airlines in the globe, they're very high costly. I mean, they're very fat and high end. I mean, the top is very fat. So what we are looking at is a very low cost operation, but without compromising the quality or the safety or any comfort or the luxury. So I see there's a huge opportunity in between this COVID pandemic, because one thing is, according to the statistic, we have seen a drastic drop in the passenger traveling. However, the cargo, air cargo has picked up very significant amount of percentage has gone high.
So when you say cargo, Doctor, is it the export that you're looking in or the import that you're looking in?
In fact, both. In fact, both. Because if you look at particularly like the shipping industry, I mean, let's say just example, we are bringing some food items from India to here. It may take few days just to come from India to Sri Lanka. But maybe the customs clearance and all these things could even take 1 to 2 weeks. But air freight, yeah, maybe 24 hours, 48 hours, next day it's in your doorstep. So this pandemic has created a different atmosphere and a different set of opportunities for the airline industry, I believe.
Well, with the national carrier in Sri Lanka definitely going through a tough period, obviously there are a lot of talk going about. But do you think that the third airline coming in to Sri Lanka, Fly Lanka Asia Limited, how will they go forward with it? Because if the national carrier is really finding it difficult to sustain, how hard would it be for a new airline?
Sure, Kausal. In fact, our business model is totally different to the national carrier, Sri Lankan Airlines, as well as the second international airline, that is Fitz Air, that's primarily looking at the cargo. So our business model is totally different to both of these airlines. I see, because in our case, like, we are not looking at a very huge infrastructure or a very high overheads compared to Sri Lankans. We are, as I said earlier, we are looking at a very low cost business model. So with that also we are looking at specific routes, specific sectors, and certain agreements have already been reached with certain parties in the globe to do that. So I think it would be a bit difficult to compare with the national carrier, and there won't be any effect. I mean,
so the main intentions are quite different to the national airline, if you really put it in a nutshell.
Absolutely. I mean, if at all we want to complement them, not to compete with them. Absolutely. There's no vision of ours to compete with the national carrier. I mean, if at all we would like to complement with them and expand the aviation industry further.
So looking forward, like, say, what is the progress so far of your airline? Where do you plan to, as you said, you're looking at various regions to fly into and various destinations. What are the plans at the moment? Has it started operations yet, or is it on the hold at the moment? Have you purchased your aircraft? So
Sure. In fact, the company was founded over a year ago, and last year September the company has applied the relevant approval from the government authorities, and by now I think we have already completed about 90% of the work to get those approvals. And I'm very happy to say we have purchased our first aircraft from Kenya, a Boeing 737, which we are expecting to ferry here to Sri Lanka maybe next week or the week after next. So with that we are hoping to receive the air operating certificate, AOC, what we call, from the relevant authorities. So thereafter, at the moment, as we are planning, we are hoping to start our operation from 1st of January. We are going to limit to as a regional operator initially, countries like Maldives, India, Dubai, then Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar. So that's the terrain we are looking at. But at the same time, there's some discussion we have already commenced, even the London Colombo route, because there seems to be quite a heavy traffic moving in that sector. So in all these locations, compared to our national carrier or most of the airlines in the world, we are working with most of the time with a local party. let's say if it is like we are traveling to Indonesia, so there's a partnership we are having with a Jakarta-based Indonesian company. So similarly, that we are having discussions with a London-based company to have that kind of understanding. So we will not go for like a full-blown marketing sales kind of a thing like what the other airline operators does, but the models being built in such a way our partner who are local in that particular country would do that marketing sales as a partnership with us.
Well, you mentioned about certain countries like Indonesia, Maldives, Malaysia, Dubai. So I think what you all are really targeting at the moment is mostly the tourist destinations that people go, so that you get more passengers moving around in that region, is it?
Not necessarily, Kosala. If I can give you one example, that one particular project or one particular sector what we are looking at is what we call Umrah flights. Some religious parties, they're based in Muslim ethnic background, they're based in Indonesia, so they are going to Dhaka, they're going to the Middle East for religious reasons. So now that sector we have planned it to have it from Jakarta, Mattala, and from Mattala to Dhaka. And also they would require a certain kind of a special food arrangement. So we are planning to have a special kitchen set up in the Mattala airport for that purpose. And also there's a huge labor requirement in Middle East from the Indonesia and that particular region. So not necessarily the tourist sector we are looking at, because I think tourist sector will take a little bit of time to recover and to move forward. So that's the tourist sector is the last sector we are looking at it.
And also according to it's like more like looking at more pilgrims also going in. If you look at what you were saying now from Indonesia, so obviously if you're doing India, there will be a lot of pilgrims who want to go into India and all that.
Correct, absolutely. I mean, even we would look at, I mean, even with the Dambadiva and Buddhist locations, so there's a huge requirement with certain special needs they have. So we would look at that type of a needs and to cater into that kind of sector. So it won't be only limited to religious, as I said.
Yeah.
So there could be certain people who would like to get maybe at a low cost price. I mean, who are working in different countries, like as I said, from the Southeast Asian region, from Malaysia, Indonesia, they are working in Middle East. So I mean, we are using it at Sri Lanka as a hub, not necessarily as a tourist hub, which other operators would look at. We are looking at from a different angle, different business model.
So when you say hub, like you're looking at a hub where it's a connecting hub, right? Like say you come from Dubai to Dhaka to Mattala and Mattala to the next destination. So you're going to work it like in a most like a sub hub where you come in and it's you just a passing by destination. Like,
that's also one aspect. Absolutely, that's also one aspect. And also according to our business plan, we would focus more on Ratmalana as well, as much as Mattala. We would focus Ratmalana as well, because now Ratmalana is turning into an international city airport, which we didn't have earlier. Because if you look at even UK or number of most of these US capitals or cities, they have a international city airport, which we didn't really have. So now the government has taken the necessary actions and the step to improve the services and turn into a more international airport. So with that, there will be more traffic would be flying out of Ratmalana, and we are putting more focus on Ratmalana at the moment.
So Ratmalana will be converted into where you can have the more bigger flights coming in, because currently the runways are not properly geared up to do big flights, is it?
Correct. But at the moment, if you look at like, I mean, the short hauls like the Maldives to Chennai to Bangalore, like that, you can take from Ratmalana. So that kind of a progress is currently being made.
Okay, the next thing I would like to ask, because there are a lot of talks saying that the national carrier in Sri Lanka might get privatized. So if it gets privatized, will this have an effect on Fly Lanka Nation?
Absolutely not, Kosala, because as I said,
we
are looking at a totally different business model. If it is get privatized, okay, we will still look at how we could collaborate. I mean, what I personally believe is it's always best to have a smaller piece in a bigger cake rather than a smaller cake. So I always believe in the collaboration. So that's also in the same line, in line with our chairman's vision as well.
Well, if you look at looking at the international borders that we have, and especially with the COVID pandemic, it's always been a challenge for aircrafts to sustain with the pandemic, as I did mention earlier, with the shortage of passengers that you can take it. But then how would Fly Lanka Asia look at this aspect and moving forward into coping with the ongoing pandemic, the guidelines and all that? So do you think that we will have a whole normalization in terms of flights?
In fact, it's very, very interesting to see, Kosa, because now the requirement has totally changed for a normal, I mean, compared to the air traveling, it has totally changed. So earlier, one would think like they would like to have a window seat or an aisle seat, or maybe what type of food they are getting, the quality of the food, the in-flight services, that kind of a thing. But a recent survey has proven, I mean, now the new passenger environment as such is a different requirement. They're looking at, they want definitely a mask. They want the hygienic requirement, sanitizers like that. And even when the cleaning of the seats and the interior aircraft, they would like airline operators to use the modern technologies rather than just wiping from a clothes or whatever like that. So interestingly enough, the people are focusing on that because of the COVID pandemic. At the same time, I must say, staggering 81% people have responded. They would like to travel within next 12 months. Because in fact, apart from the pandemic, there are business requirement, family requirement, religious requirement. So I think time to come, I think it will slowly pick up.
What about the border regulations? Like, say, obviously, sometimes you see if these countries having too much of COVID patients or affected more with the pandemic, then you have regulations that they're not being allowed to enter those borders. So how will you look at it?
Yeah, of course, now our business model, I mean, it's a combination of passengers and the cargo. So I mean, in the current atmosphere, even we would look at the air passengers as a bonus, because the cargo is something that will never stop. In fact, if at all, as I said, due to the pandemic, the cargo requirement has gone up, increasing in an unbelievable way. So I don't think that would, even there are lockdowns, still the air cargo requirement is there. So we need to travel. So I don't think there'll be a big issue as far as our business model concerned.
Another thing that I would like to ask, most of the aircrafts or the flights, they have a lot of expats working for airlines and aircrafts. How do you all look at it? Are you interested in having more expats, or is it going to be more the local-based staff that you would want to have?
I mean, absolutely. We would like to encourage our local staff, I mean, the local people to get more employment opportunities. And one thing I have gathered is there's a lot of expats who are working in like Europe and Middle East due to like laying down of the staff in major airlines. A lot of people have already returned. So there's enough and more market is here for us to pick the local. So I don't think that will be a big problem. So I mean, we will of course give the preference. We would like to give the preference to locals, and it's an area that we will focus in the future.
Yeah, I think that will be really good, because there are a lot of expats, Sri Lankan expats who were overseas working for various aircrafts who now returned back due to the ongoing pandemic, losing their jobs. So I think that will create more opportunities for Sri Lankan people to be involved in what they were doing and what they're good at.
Correct. At the same time, I must add, Kosala, because now there's so many expats, not only in the airline industry, they have returned home due to the COVID pandemic. Now we are trying to get used to what we call this new normal. I mean, we don't know whether this pandemic will end in another month or 6 months or 2 years, we don't know. So now what people are getting used to is this new normal and getting back to their lives to do the work like that. So we can see there are a lot of people would like to return it back to where they were working earlier. So most of people, they got the calls and invited them to come back to their workforce like that. So we will see there's a significant increase in the air travel time to come. These people are returning to the places that they were working earlier.
I think we've heard a lot of good things that Fly Lanka Asia is really planning out in the upcoming years. Anything that you would want to suggest to the public that why you need to be a part of Fly Lanka Asia Limited?
I think one point I can add is, because at the moment we all are talking about this the foreign currency requirement. Like now, sometimes when we want to do some international business, we can't open LCs. There are banking issues because we don't have enough dollars. I mean, one thing we need to understand: all these income would come, or the majority of the income would come from foreign currency. So this is really a good foreign currency earner for Sri Lanka. So there are economic factors as well in this business.
Yes, I think that's something that everybody will be looking forward to. Open LCs, have dollars coming in the future, because Sri Lanka definitely needs a move on. Well, Fly Lanka Asia is with a vision and with a mission, so definitely they will have a lot of things for us locals in our country. Well, I would like to move away from Fly Lanka Asia Limited about everything about the aviation. Let's come to your film industry. 17 films, 5 teledramas, 2 stage plays, if I'm not mistaken. Well, is it a passion that you had, or is it something that you, as you said, you wanted to be a pilot? Is there been a passion?
In fact, again, I think most of these things that evolve in our life is going back to our childhood. In fact, my grandfather had a number of film theaters, and also he was involved in the film production, and one of my uncle as well. So when I was a kid, I had this dream, another dream, like the pilot. I really wanted to produce a film, one movie. But then maybe about 8 years back, I produced one movie, but without me knowing, I have ended up producing 17 movies, because that was a passion I had in my this thing, and also the teledramas like that. And also when I get into some area, like when I was in telecommunication, in fact, I'm very proud to say we are the people who have built the highest number of telecommunication towers in Sri Lanka, because at that time I was a CEO of a telecommunication services company. So almost all the mobile operators, the fixed operators, we have done it. Then I moved to media. So I think the similar sort of achievement maybe we have done in the media and telecommunication. Hopefully we could do it in aviation as well. Let's see.
Yeah, but how do you look at the film industry in Sri Lanka compared to, because you get Bollywood, you get Hollywood, you get Hollywood, you know, where does Sri Lanka stand in terms of the film industry going forward?
At the moment, I mean, definitely due to the pandemic, the film industry is seriously struggling. I mean, that's not a secret. But it will evolve very soon, because one good example I can tell, Kosala, is like during like the recessions and the toughest periods in Europe and in USA, that's where the highest number of people have been watching movies. And you would question why. I mean, some people, I mean, a lot of people lose their jobs. So why they're just going to go and watch a movie? Because it's a stress reliever. Seriously, it's a stress reliever. So I think time to come, when this environment is a little bit better, I think we will pick up. I think certainly we will pick up.
Yeah, so from the film industry to teledrama to stage, because stage plays have definitely become a stagnated one right now, because we don't have much stage plays happening currently with the ongoing current situation in the country. So I think that also needs to be uplifted as life goes on.
Absolutely. I mean, as much as I like the films and the teledramas, I must say a stage play is something totally different to films and stage plays. Because one thing I like about the stage plays is, okay, you can change the script, not the story though, but you can change the script to suit it to a more timely manner. If you do a film or a teledrama, I mean, you can't. You shoot it and it's ready. The production will go whenever you are releasing it. But stage play, because like it's depending on the area, depending on the period, the time period, like that. So you can modify that. So I think that is something fascinating.
Yeah. In a business perspective, do you feel that the stage plays do have a way forward in the country?
Absolutely. I mean, that is something I always believe, but I think that prominence has not been given, unfortunately, at the moment. So I think in the future, I think, because if you look at Europe and other countries, stage plays, I mean, my gosh, it's a totally different ball game. So I think we have a lot of opportunities, perspectives. So I think if we all can work together with a common vision and with the help of the government and other authorities, we can make it happen.
I think we've come to the conclusion of a very interesting discussion today on our program Business Today. Hope you had a good insight of Fly Lanka Asia Limited, airline, the third airline carrier in the country that is going to take you to new heights in the near future. Thank you very much, Dr. Arosha Fernando, for joining us and giving us all these very important details about Fly Lanka Asia Limited.
Thank you, Kosala. Thank you so much.
With that, we come to the conclusion of another episode of Business Today. Hoping to see you next week on another episode of Business Today.